My name is Laurel Smith, and I would like to read to you The Quest for Quinnie. It's a chapter book about the Connecticut River. If you would like to push pause, go to Laurel, Laurel, Smith, SMITH.com. On my remote learning page, you could download the book and you could read with me. I'll wait if you want to do that. You can pause it, and it is laurelasmith.com. Remote learning page, The Quest for Quinnie. The Quest for Quinnie was illustrated by Dan Noonan and Eamonn Hutton when they were only seniors in high school at Fall Mountain Regional High School. So it was really cool. The Quest for Quinnie. It's a chapter book, so I'll show you the pictures when it's time, but I'll just read. If you want to read along with me, you just want to listen and just relax and hear the story, that's okay too. Many people look at the water, but only some hold the ability to see beneath its surface. That's a quote from the book. And this book is dedicated to my son Corey. Without you, this dream would not have continued. Thank you for allowing me to have shared in your creative imagination. I love you, Mom. Yeah, sometimes people dedicate books to people. That's what authors do sometimes. There's 10 chapters. And the first chapter is called Chapter 1, Tale or Tale. Now look at how it's spelled. First tale is spelled like a story, T-A-L-E. The other tale is spelled T-A-I-L, which would be like what a dog would wag. Interesting chapter. Look out for the rocks, I heard my grandfather warn as I lost my balance and started to fall into the river. I tried to catch myself, but my footing was unsteady and it was too late. Splash! He was afraid I would get injured on one of the many rough granite boulders below me. As I toppled toward them, it was as if they looked out for me. I felt something cradle me safely to a gentle landing. A few seconds later, I realized that I wasn't hurt. As I leaned over and started to pull myself up out of the water, I touched the side of the rock. It smelled smooth and pliable, textured like clay. Then it seemed as though I was magically placed upon the banking. Maddie, are you all right? Grandpa questioned as he maneuvered around the debris washed on the riverbank. Yeah, Grandpa, I'm fine, I answered with no expression, my eyes still on the rock. I watched in astonishment as something started to ripple out into the middle of the Connecticut River. Do rocks swim? I wondered aloud. What? Grandpa asked. He was standing next to me now. Nothing, Grandpa. I'm okay, I guess. I'm so glad you're safe. What would I have said to your grandmother if anything had happened to you, my little freckled face? He half joked while squeezing me tight. My cheek rubbed up against his rough, unshaven whiskers. I love my grandpa. He says we have a mutual admiration for each other. That just means he loves me. Every summer I went to stay with my grandparents, but that visit was different. You see, it was hard for me to talk about, but my parents were splitting up. Yep, a divorce. I hated it. My dad lived in Connecticut in our old home, now his home. My mom was working a full-time job 2 hours away, and in the fall, Mom and I would have a new house. I'd have a new school, and I was told, new friends. You know what? I liked my old friends just fine. Why did I need new ones? I wanted to wake up in my old room every morning. It had the wallpaper we all picked out together as a family, the purple and pink flowers that were my favorite. My closet had a picture of Mom, Dad, and me. I had drawn it in crayon when I was 3. Mom seemed upset at the time, but she thought it was too cute to wipe off. Of course, Rascal was there too. That was also the first year we got him. He's a golden retriever, you know. My world was not going to be the same. Nothing ever was, except my grandparents in New Hampshire and the Connecticut River near the house. Oh, yeah, and Sean. Sean lived up the street from my grandparents. He and I went way back. We've been buddies forever. Grandpa called us salt and pepper. He would say, "You two add flavor to my life." Whenever I stayed with my grandparents, I spent most of my time with Sean. I always went over to Sean's and tried to yank him off the living room couch. Sometimes I thought they were attached to each other. When he went with me, we had great adventures. I wish he were here now to share the mystery of the soft rock with me. He could have made some sense of this. He'd say, "Maddie, does that really seem possible?" They all call me Maddie, but my real name is Madison. One time, a substitute teacher accidentally called me Matilda. A crazy bully back home started calling me Waltzing Matilda. It's from some ancient song my grandparents knew. I won't miss him at all. That was one good point for not going back there. Grandpa and Grammy were good to me. I was their only granddaughter, actually, the only grandchild. My mom was their only daughter. Some people said I was spoiled. I said they were just jealous. It was time for Grandpa and me to pick up the fishing gear and get back to the house. A little too early in the season for going swimming. Grandpa noticed my blue lips and chattering teeth. "All blue-lipped mermaids, please prepare for departure," Grandpa announced. We started our trek home. "Are you sure you're okay, honey?" Grandpa asked as he put his plaid shirt around my shoulders. "Yeah, I think I'm fine, Grandpa," I answered. I knew I was not injured. My head hurt because I was confused, I thought. "We'll come back tomorrow. Maybe then they'll have the no swimming sign posted," Grandpa chuckled. "Oh, Grandpa, stop." I shook my head and hugged him. We started up the embankment. I looked back at the clear blue water and rubbed my eyes in disbelief. Did I just see something move? Could it be the tip of a large tail? No, it could not be an animal. Nothing was that big in our river. Maybe I did just hit my head. Is it just my imagination? Or are you real? I questioned it all, even myself. Now, there's a little ripply water and a tail thing going. Hmm, let's see. Chapter 2, The Doubters. Do you know the word doubt? It means you question it. You don't know if it's real or true. Like, you don't know if they're tricking you or if it's a real story or pretend. It's kind of like you doubt. Most of that night, I thought about my encounter at the river. I still didn't know what it really was. Was it anything at all? Next morning, I headed off to check out what Sean was up to for the day, and I let Grandpa know I was leaving. He said, "You be careful today. Don't you take any dips. Tonight we'll go down to the river and do a little horn pouting." Great. Horn pouting is the coolest fishing. You get to fish at night with lanterns and flashlights. You don't know what you've caught until you reel it in and look at it under the light. I pulled out an eel one time. That was freaky. What's more odd is that some people like to eat those slimy water snake like eels. Usually we stayed out past midnight. It always made Grammy worry. I didn't know why. We were careful. Horn patting is called cat fishing by some out of towners. We just call it poutin' round here. That sounds great. Can I invite Sean? I asked. Sure, but tell him to leave that noisy contraption at home. Grandpa, he's funny. It scares away the fish, he said. We needed bait, not entertainment. Grandpa, can we please go on a nightcrawler hunt tonight? I asked, like you taught us. Sure. Be home for supper. You and Sean can get us some night crawlers after you eat. Grammy's making shepherd's pie. Grandpa and I loved it when Grammy made shepherd's pie. She fried hamburger in a pan with onion pieces, big enough so I could pick them out, and Grandpa could sink his teeth into them. Then she mashed real potato with milk and butter. The special ingredient was cream corn, not whole kernel corn like Sean's mom, Linda, used. Once in a while, his mom even put in peas, or worse yet, vegetable soup. Blech. He let me know which variety it was before I would eat over. I wouldn't have wanted to hurt her feelings and tell her how disgusting it was. I brought Rascal along too. He needed to be walked, and he loved to play in the water. I got to Sean's house and tied Rascal up on the front porch. The front door was open, so I just let myself in. Hello, anyone home? I'm in the living room, Sean answered. That was a big surprise. Sean? Just a sec. I've almost won. Beep bop bleep bleep blared out of his electronic game. When Sean played, he couldn't be distracted. He lived for the game. Do you know anybody like that? They live for the video games. And they're always playing on computers and always watching TV, and it's an okay thing, but some people love it. Sean, I repeated with more emphasis. I saw a something, I began. I saw something too, and I'm trying to catch it, he complained. I walked closer to him and shook his shoulder while I announced, at the river, I saw a creature. It helped me out. You didn't help me any. I just lost. Thanks a bunch. He shut off his game and looked up at me with disappointment. I've seen that look many times before. It was that look of a rude interruption in his life with some foolish thought or idea of mine. Sean, I saw something. What did it look like? He asked, with a roll of his eyes and a huge sigh. I really don't know, I admitted. What do you mean you don't know? How do you know you saw something then? He questioned. Well, it was a fish. No, an eel. No, it was huge. Maybe like an elephant. It was green. It was gray. It was blue. I stammered. Mom, get a thermometer. Maddie needs a doctor, Sean yelled. What? His mom hollered from the laundry room. Nothing. Everything's okay, I answered and gave Sean a stern look. Maddie, you expect me to believe you saw a blue elephant in the river where we have swum our whole lives. Wouldn't we have noticed an elephant? He asked quizzically. I can't explain it any better, I told him. Think of what you're saying. I know, it doesn't make any sense. You just have to believe me, I pleaded. I don't have to do anything, he declared. I know, I conceded. Sean reached up to start his ruined game and tried to retrieve his lost title. I continued to stare at him. What? He asked. I had to think quickly. I need an excuse to get him down to the river and to check things out with me. How could I do that? It wasn't warm enough to swim, and we would be fishing later that night. Hey, let's go down to the setback to look for tadpole eggs and try to find some baby salamanders on the path. The setback was always one of the few outdoor spots that interest Sean. A setback is a section of the river closed in with some trees and brush, kind of like a private little pond. I continued. I have Rascal tied up out front, and he could use the exercise. I tried to convince Sean to join me. Sweet, I'll help you walk, Rascal. Sean had always wanted a dog, but Linda didn't particularly care for them. She always told him no when he asked. That makes you think she didn't care for him. She would add, when you get a place of your own, you can be a fantastic parent and make your children happy by being the proud owner of a dog. I didn't think he'd get one anytime soon. It seemed like an eternity before he moved off the couch, but I finally got Sean to the bank of the river. We had taken a couple of wide-mouthed mason jars from his mother's pantry on our way out the door. One was for tadpoles' eggs, and the other for salamanders. There were people who referred to salamanders as newts. We called the girls Sallies and the boys Sammies, even though we couldn't tell one from the other. Rascal hopped right into the water. He loved to swim around. I didn't understand what good bathing in water ever did a dog. They always smelled worse when they got out of it. Sean and I found one little group of tadpole eggs. We tried to scoop them up with our hands to put them in the mason jars. A couple of them separated from the tapioca like jelly and slipped through our fingers. We didn't manage to get very many. I didn't know if we harmed any trying to get them into the container. I hoped they were not damaged. It would be cool to watch them grow into tadpoles with tails and then into frogs without tails. We'd probably do what we do every year. We'd bring them back in the next day because we felt guilty. Last year, we set the jar on a shelf in the pantry. Phew, these stink to high heaven, was what Grammy said when she found them. They were dead. Grammy then taught us a lesson about science. She said, a truly caring scientist would go to where the specimen lives, its habitat. This year, we were better scientists, one who cared. Sean saw one more batch of eggs that had floated a little farther out into the water. He rolled up his pant legs and waded out deeper. I grabbed onto the back of his shirt. He leaned forward and stopped dead. He turned to me. He had a panicked look on his face. Maddie, did you feel that too? What? My heart beating fast. Something just brushed up against my ankle. Sean, what is it? I squealed. He reached his hand slowly in the water. His eyes were as big as golf balls. He swished around in the water a while and answered, I got it! As his arm emerged from the water. It's eel grass, Goofy, and he threw it toward my head. Ah, you, I screamed and started to splash him. Sean, you make me nuts, I yelled. He ran onto the shore and tried to reach for his sandals. I saw Rascal on shore behind Sean. I said, seriously, Sean? Wait, I know what's going to happen next. He stopped and slowly turned. You do? What? Rascal's gonna shake, which he did with his wet fur excess spraying all over Sean. Maddie, he screamed, we're even. We were until one of us played a trick on the other one again. That's part of our friendship. Last one home's a rotten egg, he said, as he bolted 3 feet ahead of me. Go ahead, I called. Even if I'm a rotten egg, I'll still smell better than you old wet mutt. They sound like they have a good little friendship, don't they? Probably you have friends in your neighborhood or your cousins or even your brothers and sisters. Maybe you joke around like that. We raced all the way home. He touched the mailbox first. Meet you around 8:30 tonight. We're going pouting with Grandpa, I said, panting for breath with my hands on my knees. If you want, I'll start the hose under the apple tree and we can attempt to pluck for nightcrawlers, if that's okay. We'll meet earlier at the tree, say 8 o'clock, I asked. He yelled back, bet I'll pull out more crawlers than you. You're on. Loser baits the hooks all night, I answered. Grandpa had taught us a trick. Running the hose fools the night crawlers. They come out of their holes when it's dark and wet. That's why they're called night crawlers. They are bigger than worms. I think worms are their cousins. Sean got more night crawlers than I did. Sean pulled harder and slid them out quickly. I always lost them back down the hole because I was afraid I'd break them in half. At the river, it should have been perfect conditions for horn pouting. We had given the water time to warm up, and the ice had been off for a while. The dams were closed upriver. The water was low and moving sluggishly. Grandpa sometimes even fished with chicken liver for bait. Give me a squirmy nightcrawler anytime. But Grandpa cut the fishing short. We were home before 11:30. Surprisingly, we didn't get a nibble all night. That's pretty unusual for this time of year, Grandpa said. Hmm, don't understand what we could have done any differently. No fish. I haven't experienced this in a long time. Mighty strange, Grandpa commented with a puzzled look. He repeated, mighty strange. That's the end of chapter 2. Makes you kind of wonder what's going on in that river. Hmm. Chapter 3 is called The Overnighter. So, sounds like something's going on coming up. So, thanks for listening to chapter 1 and 2 of The Quest for Quinnie with me, and I hope to see you later. Bye.